our topic is Playback Theater as a healing instrument. Welcome to AB Lifetime, channel on mental health. And I am here on original Moreno stage with Judy Swallow. Hello, Judy.
Hey, hello, Anna. And one person said from the movie, play it again, Sam. And people said, playback. Playback, 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 playback. Someone tells a story of something that happened to them, and other people play it back in action.
It's about my little dog. Okay, she's called Maggie.
We have the park to go to, and the boats, and you'll be safe in the water because you swim so well, and you'll run around and you'll love everybody. So let's go. Let's go.
I can't believe that I would hear exactly just the original story of how it started. Could you please start with a little history of Playback Theater?
Playback Theater started in 1975. That was when I was a new psychodrama student, and it didn't have a name, it just was an idea. And it was an idea of Jonathan Fox, who had the thought of a theater that takes people's stories, real life stories, and makes them into action, into theater. And he was a Harvard scholar who studied literature and political science. And he got a Fulbright scholarship to go study the Maori in New Zealand. Because they have a wonderful, rich oral tradition where their stories of their community is carried in, and they have large places to come together and tell their stories and keeps births and deaths and everything. He studied it, and he was very interested in oral history. So the literature and political science and culture all came together. And in New Zealand, he fell in love with Jo Salas, who became his wife, and a playback author and practitioner and musician and artist. So he brought that idea back of oral history, and he worked in New York City with the Theater of the Deaf. And he also saw how people in New York couldn't have a life. You can't have a family life, or you have to marry the theater. So all these were thoughts, and he said that he had an idea of a theater that's as good for the actors as it is for the audience. It was just an idea, and the idea of oral history, and then in the 70s, that was a whole different time from now. It was experimental theater, but most theater had the black box, and the actors were here and the audience was there. And he and Jo were in Connecticut, Mystic, Connecticut, and they started to have an idea of stories from regular people, and they got a little group together. They didn't have any name or anything. They were just experimenting. And they were on the beach, and Jonathan saw a woman, and he asked her some questions about her life, and she started to cry. And he had no background in dealing with that. You know, he was interested in theater and social issues, and and so his stepfather was a psychodrama student at the Moreno Institute. And he said, you need to go and check out psychodrama so that you can learn to handle all kinds of feelings from stories that come up. So Jonathan and his family moved from Connecticut to nearby, and he studied psychodrama. And at that time, J.L.Moreno had died in 1974. So he studied it with Zerka, and Zerka, brilliant, creative person that she is, she knew that he talked about his ideas with her. there was no theater yet, no playback theater yet, just the ideas. And she gave him money, $500, which at that time was a lot of money, to rent a community room in a local church, to invite people to come and experiment.
Wow.
So she gave seed money, which
that's
money, little seeds.
So she was involved in that.
Yes.
Okay, I see.
She listened to his idea. Right? And so I happened to be in psychodrama training, and in those days, training was morning, noon, night, morning, noon, night, morning, noon, night.
With Zerka?
With Zerka and Ann Hale and John Nolte.
Okay.
They were the three trainers for me at the time. And we had a Thursday night off. So people could have a release, or they could go to the community room and meet this guy, Jonathan Fox. So I thought, okay, I'll see what that is. And he had, curly hair and flowing batiqued pants. This was the 1970s.
Yes,
because Joe, his wife, is an artist, and she also designed clothing as well as everything else. And so I was listening, and I thought, oh, what an idealistic young man. But there are people from all over the world in the psychodrama training. So we were doing a little exercise of skating along pretend ice and, doing different things. And he came up next to me. He came to everybody, and he said, oh, what country are you from? And I said, I just live half an hour up the road. And I saw his face go, oh. Oh, would you like to come next Thursday to see what we can do? And I said, well, I don't know, but I have 2 friends, and I'll bring 2 friends. And so I came, and we had a good time, and we experimented with things. And after there was another person, Vince from the psychodrama world, and there was a sign painter, and a teacher, and an engineer. All that he had
remember this so good.
Yeah. And so his idea was that there can be theater from citizen actors. Yeah. It was just the idea. Like instead of professional actors, it could be still, We experimented, and we tried different things, all kinds of things, Think of a story and see what happens, right? Anything. And after about, I don't know how many months, people who were interested in the idea all got together at the Moreno Institute. I remember a big, long dining room table.
In Beacon?
In Beacon, yes. And the one in Beacon. A big, long dining room table. And Jonathan's idealism said, we will all come up with a name together.
Oh my God.
And we talked, and we guessed, and we tried, and we the hours went by. I thought, oh my God, how does this work? And then it's true. One person, it was so late at night, and one person said from the movie, play it again, Sam. And people said, playback theater. So it really did work.
Oh my God.
We were hours and hours at this table. But again, the idealism of a community co-creating something, which is so essential to playback theater all over the world now.
Right.
It's in 70 countries all over the world, and it started in Beacon.
My God, I can't believe, honestly, when we scheduled the interview with you, I can't believe that I would hear exactly just the original story of how it started, actually.
Yeah,
wow. Thank you so much. It's so meaningful.
To me, the philosophy of co-creation is so important.
Yeah. Oh my God. So I am actually with the person who actually started that. It was in first group.
Founding member.
Yes. Oh my God.
And I'm old enough to know that some of these things that we experimented with are now called classic playback theater, which is taught all over the world.
thread. Someone came to the door to canvass me politically from a different persuasion than I, and we had a beautiful conversation. It was very satisfying.
Sometimes, when I let myself, I'm open to other people. No, I'm involved in hoping for the election. Today, I went and ordered tap shoes for the first time since 1948, which is before half of you were born. I'm very excited.
Time. Step. Time. My name is Lee, and speaking of time and canvassing, tomorrow is the first day that I actually am doing some canvassing. So after 2 years of of feeling very alarmed, I feel that there's a moment where the fear and the paralysis gets to shift and things are in motion. I'm excited.
Could you please tell more about how does it work?
The simplest thing in the world is that someone tells a story of something that happened to them, or a feeling that they had about something that happened to them, and other people play it back in action. Mm-hmm. And there are many forms for that, what we call short forms and scenes and all kinds of different ways to do that, but that's the essence of someone telling a story and watching it played back. Sometimes, many times there are playback theater companies. They're actors in a company, and they're improvisational actors. They're very good at listening to a story, the nuances of a story, mm-hmm. and using their bodies and working together to play it back, because there's an ensemble, you see.
Yeah.
Nobody is directed. They all hear the story at the same time, and then they work together to give it back. And then it always goes to the teller. This is really important. It always goes to the teller for the teller to say, no, that didn't...
It doesn't match.
That doesn't match. And it's fine, because it's all about the person's story. Early days, we always did it again, and later on we found different ways that it's important for the teller just to tell their story. No, my father wasn't that angry, You know what I mean? But it clarifies. Mm-hmm. It clarifies. So that's the simplest way of saying how it works. Mm-hmm. The person who tells the story is called the teller, and the people who play it back are called actors. Mm-hmm. Now, in a workshop, that's also great, because people who don't know anything about being actors on a stage for a paying audience can still learn to do some of the forms, learn to use their bodies, learn to listen and translate through their bodies what somebody else is saying. And try and give it back as a gift, mm-hmm. and work together to make an ensemble and give it back. So the actors are in full control of what they do. There is someone. How do we get the stories? There is somebody called a conductor, mm-hmm. and I remember the olden days when, what shall we name this being,
oh my
right?
God, right.
So we're thinking, and I said, how about conductor? Because conducts the energy from the audience through the teller to the actors, back to the teller, and back to the audience. And then another story comes, and another story comes, you know, and then Playback Theater has many stories. One story leads to the other. You know, like in a conversation. Oh, that reminds me of another story, you see? So I thought, conducting energy. And they said, oh, that's okay. And then somebody thought about conducting an orchestra, a conductor of a train. But I thought of the energy, and that's called a conductor.
Wow.
So the conductor gets the questions from the audience, sends it to the actors. The actors play it back, and it goes back to the teller. And then the teller can say to everyone how it worked or what they got out of it.
Oh, wonderful.
And then another story comes. So the whole evening or the whole afternoon, the whole time has number of stories, a number of stories that the whole group co-creates. We don't know what's the community will create with the stories in the room. You see, so it's again part of that philosophy that there's co-creation wherever we are.
So your name is Katya.
Yeah, okay, good. And you thought of a story right away?
Well, not exactly, because it's not my first time here, and every time I come here I say like, how come I don't have any stories? But I do. And then suddenly, when I was driving back here, this story of mine came back to my mind, and I said, okay, if I have a chance.
Where does your story take place?
In my hometown, Sherbrooke City.
And how old are you in your story?
8 years ago.
8 years ago?
Yeah.
Okay. So pick one of the actors to be you, Katya. That's you. And what happens in your story?
It's about my little dog.
Okay.
She's called Maggie.
Maggie. We need Maggie in the story, I bet.
We need Maggie. Like purple, sure.
Okay. So Tony will be Maggie.
So Maggie was 3 months old, and we have just finished the kindergarten for dogs. So she had her new diploma.
Have you ever taken a dog to a kindergarten or a training class?
That was my first time. Like first dog as adult, so my first time bringing a dog to a training class.
Okay,
I went to a rowing regatta because I'm a rowing coach.
Oh, okay. A rowing coach.
So I was taking care of the regatta, and I brought my little dog to be having her with me and showing my sweet little dog to people.
Okay.
And then suddenly she got extremely tired.
Okay, so let me know something about the regatta. Is it a race?
Yeah, it's race with like different kinds of boats, like 2 people rowing, 4 people rowing.
Okay. Different people rowing the boats, and you're their coach.
Well, I was more acting like the director of the regatta.
Okay, so you're directing a whole regatta.
Yeah.
And you bring Maggie, sweet little Maggie.
Yeah.
And then she gets tired.
She gets suddenly extremely tired, like she couldn't stand on her feet anymore. So I felt guilty, and I said, oh my God, what happened? Maybe there was too many people.
Maybe she's overstimulated.
Yeah, she overstimulated. So I bring the dog to my home. So and then she starts shaking her head like this. So, oh my God, like she has neurological problem.
Yes. Goodness.
I got crazy, and so I called the veterinarian on a Sunday. So it was emergency.
Emergency, yes.
Yeah, I went there, and she said, oh, like little dogs, usually they have this kind of problem, they lack of sugar. So we'll give her a little bit of sugar and food, and then she will feel better. And that's what she did. And suddenly Maggie felt better, so I got back home. But she told me watch her, because maybe you'll see her having some more symptoms.
Yes.
So watch her and we'll see.
So here you have the regatta going.
Yeah, well, I let people, I give the direction to somebody else, and I say, I'm taking care of my dog.
Good.
So I bring, I'm home, and the dog is resting, sleeping, and I say, oh, it's okay. It was just this little lack of sugar, and I'll be okay. But then suddenly she woke up, and she throws up, and she started to do this with her head again. So I called back the veterinarian, and I said, this is wrong.
We need the veterinarian.
Yeah, Richard.
Yes, that's great.
So I said, like, this is wrong. Like, it should not happen. If it was a lack of sugar, it should have been, like, gone for now. So she said, I don't know what she has. You should watch her the whole night and watch if she stops breathing and collapses.
This is the first time you have a dog. The first time, and watch her to see if she stops breathing. Okay.
Yeah, and like she was like a little small teddy bear, like the whole night watching her and having her maybe collapsing or stopping breathing or whatever.
So what do you do?
Well, she told me that like if I want her to be watched the whole night, I can bring her to a special clinic that is about an hour and a half from my home, and they can watch her the whole night. So I said, okay, I go. So
What time of day or night is this?
I was about 8 in the evening. So I said, I'll go to the special clinic. And I drove there like I think I was the ambulance.
Yes.
The fast.
And watching to see if she's still breathing?
Yeah, like she was looking at me doing this and said, oh my God, I have to go there. So I finally arrived at the clinic. I bring my dog and I explain like I was a regatta in the park and suddenly she got exhausted and
explaining the whole
like the
story.
whole thing and say, okay, so
what happens at the end?
yeah, they bring her and like I wait for 45 minutes and then they come back and they say, wow, she had all the symptoms of having pot intoxication.
Oh.
I said, what? Are you serious? I said, yeah, like they like pot and she probably got it in the park and so we have to watch her the whole night and you'll come back tomorrow. So I got back home and called a friend and I say, like I told her like I was in the park and with the dog and my friend told me like, well, they won't believe you. They will feel that you like invent a story because to hide the fact that maybe you had pot at home. But I said, like, no, it's like that's the real story. There was a big show, like for days. So there's a lot of people that go there and drink and have pot and all this. And this it was before it was legal in Canada. So,
Canada has made a big change.
So then I went back the next day and she was all okay. And then I say, oh my God. So I just went from kindergarten to teenagers following my drugs.
Exactly. Okay. So we have heard a full story. So we'll see it in a swift movement about how this works with the regatta, which is all colorful and
A lot of action.
a lot of action with the boats and the rowers and everything else. And after you have brought your little Maggie home from kindergarten, and we'll see what happens as she grows up awfully fast. Let's watch.
We did it, Maggie. We graduated from kindergarten. Oh, good for us. I did good, right? You did fantastic. Thank you for training me. Thank you so much for training me. I didn't know nearly anything. Here, I made this beautiful bed for you two if you get tired. But meanwhile, we have the park to go to. And the boats, and you'll be safe in the water because you swim so well and you'll run around and you'll love everybody. So let's go! Let's go! And the first round's up, and the second round. Oh. Boy, there are some fast racers here today. All right, they're coming into position again. And again. Is this the vet? Hello?
Yes, this is the vet.
My puppy, she's only 3 months and she's head is shaking. It looks neurological.
It sounds like a common case of symptoms. Just bring them by.
Okay.
Pretend it a dog.
Okay. I really don't feel well. Here, come to the vet. Come
Bring her right over here. That's close enough. She looks canine. I think she may be down on sugar. Just give her a little sugar. Let her munch a little bit of sugar. Slightly munch some sugar. And then should she be anything but okay, I'd be surprised. She'll be okay.
Do you have an option other than watching her all night? Do you have another option?
Do you know artificial respiration?
I'm scared.
2 breaths in, 1 out. Don't let her stomach overinflate. There is a place about 200 miles from here where you can have her watched overnight in case she's about to die.
Oh, no. You're really sick. You're gonna go. Or just here. Just sit.
Seems to be the trouble.
I have a
Oh my
challenge
goodness.
puppy here.
Oh.
Something's
Poor
wrong.
little puppy.
And
She might die.
I was told that your clinic could watch her all night.
We
Is
will
that right?
watch her. We will watch her all night.
Boy, it reminds me of something that I can't go back. Well, do you think she's been at a concert?
That's what it is.
What's the matter with the dog?
I think she's been at the park.
Oh, that looks familiar.
Maggie was running all over the place. I mean, she could have eaten who knows what.
Oh yeah. Hi. She loves brownies. Hey lady, come back and get your dog.
Maggie! Good job. What did you decide it was?
She's gotta have it.
Her first day out on her own? Really? She got into that much trouble?